There are so many absolutely beautiful places in the Tampa Bay area. But because Florida is so flat, a lot of times you can get to these places and you don't have that high vantage point. So, all throughout the Tampa Bay area, they have many what they call lookout towers, generally in hiking areas, parks, and so forth, that allow you to get a better view. So, I wanted to put together this video to rank the top 5 observation towers in the Tampa Bay area. I thought that'd be kind of fun. And at the same time, for people that are unable to climb to the top of the towers, I also wanted to put together a video for those people that would allow you to see the views from all the best towers in the Tampa Bay area. So, with that in mind, let's get started. We are going to start with number 5 and work our way down. And for number 5, I'm going to talk about the observation tower at Lettuce Lake Park. It's in northern Tampa in Hillsborough County. It's right along the Hillsborough River opposite USF Riverfront Park. With this observation tower, it's not so much the tower itself that is so impressive. The tower is like a story and a half high. It's not super high, but the park itself adds to the whole environment. It's a beautiful park right along the river there. You can rent kayaks or canoes and so forth. They've got a lot of nice hikes throughout the park. And right where this observation tower is, they've got a beautiful boardwalk path right along the Hillsborough River. And the view, once you get up this tower at the top, is absolutely beautiful. Out on the river there, you can often see people on kayaks. Tower itself's kind of squeaky. It's kind of retrofit a little bit. So as you're going up the tower, the metal bracings on the side kind of squeak as you come up and down it. So like I said, it's not too tall and it's a little rickety, but it is a beautiful tower to come across for an absolutely amazing view of the Hillsborough River and a beautiful walk to get out there. For number 4, we're going to go a little bit south of the Tampa Bay area down to Myakka State Park. This tower down at Miyaka is huge. I mean, as far as height is concerned, the tower is 74 feet high. It rises like up above all the trees. There's actually 2 towers at this location. There's one tower that you start up that takes you up a couple of flights, and then there's like a little bridge in the air from one tower across to the main tower that's like 25 feet above the ground. So you walk up the one tower, you walk over the bridge to the other tower, and then you continue to go up through the second tower, the main tall one. Like, it's like Stairway to Heaven. You literally go up through the trees, and when you get to the top of that tower, you're like way above the tree line looking down at it. It's absolutely amazing. The view from Myakka State Park at the top of this tower isn't as impressive as some of the other towers, and that's why it didn't rank a little higher on the list, even though it's a pretty impressive tower. If you've got fear of heights, this one actually might freak you out because you go way up there. At the very top of the tower, they've got a little thing you can put quarters in. It's like one of those deals you can look through like the binoculars. When I went up there, I didn't have any quarters on me because I remember the last time I've carried change in my pocket. So if you want to look through the thing up there, bring a couple of quarters. Myakka State Park, by the way, if you're looking to see alligators in the area, lots of large alligators, that is the place to go to see alligators. In the summer months, a lot of that area can flood. A lot of the area is right off the main trail. So when you get it during the dry season is the best time if you want to do any walking around. But the lookout tower at Myakka State Park is number 4. Number 3, I would give to the lookout tower at Weedon Island Park. There are some people that might debate that with me. They might say Myakka State Park, the lookout tower there is definitely better than the one at Weedon Island State Park. And I couldn't argue with them on that if we're just talking about the lookout tower itself. But the view that you're going to get from the lookout tower atop Weedon Island is absolutely amazing. So I gave it the edge over Miyaka's lookout tower for the view. It's also a little more central to the Tampa Bay area, whereas Miyaka, you're going south a little bit. So for those 2 reasons, Weedon Island is number 3, and the view is absolutely amazing. Weedon Island is a really nice place to go for some boardwalk strolls. The lookout tower takes you out one of those boardwalks up to the tower. And it's also a great place for kayaking. And when you get to the top of the tower in Weedon Island, you can look out on the bay area there, kind of like the bayou inlet, whatever you want to call it. There's kayak trails and paths, and people are often out there kayaking. So it's really nice. You get a nice combination of the water, the trees around. You can look out far across the bay and so forth. My only gripe about the tower at Weedon Island is it says that it's 45 feet tall and the tallest tower in Pinellas County. Now, the one in Myakka State Park is not in Pinellas County. The next one, which is actually taller, is not in Pinellas County either. But my thing about the 45 feet tall and tallest in Pinellas County is when you look at it, it certainly don't look like it's 45 feet tall, but the reality is there's kind of a illusion there because they're measuring it from the ground up. I didn't think it was 45 feet, so I actually went out there and measured it myself. And from the bottom of the walkway where you're standing on, it's 15 feet 2 inches down to the mud below. So that actually counts as part of the height. From the walkway where the first floor is to the floor at the top of the tower is only 24, let's call it 25 feet. 24 feet 9 inches is what I measured. So when you add the two of those from the ground floor to the walkway and from the walkway to the top, what I measured was 40 feet, 39 feet 11 inches, which is still 5 feet shy of 45. But then, the handrails are 3'6". Maybe they added some extra onto that. The other thing I will say about this tower in Weedon Island is getting a little rickety. If you get up there, and as I was measuring it over the end, I'm like, this thing is kind of rocking a little bit. I really never noticed that before because I wasn't sitting on the side. But if you stand there with your feet shoulder length apart and shift your weight a little bit, you can feel the tower shift. So I don't know how much longer it has ahead of it. I'd say 5-10 years maybe. I don't know how long these things last, but it's not going to fall down on you when you're up there, I don't think. But if you end up in the mangroves down below, that's on you. But Weedon Island, absolutely beautiful place to go for a walk. Absolutely beautiful view from the top of that lookout tower. For the number 2 lookout tower in the Tampa Bay area, we're going to go back across the bay to the east side of the bay. And I'll give you 2 names for this place. You could call it the Manatee Viewing Center. And on the other hand, you can call it the Florida Conservation and Technology Center. The Manatee Viewing Center has been there for quite a while, and that's actually put out by Tampa Electric there. And they have an area where you can view the manatees when it gets cold. They have a stingray petting pool. You can get some food there. They've got a lot of nice hikes in the area, but recently they've shifted the name of the whole area to the Florida Conservation and Technology Center, because now instead of just being the Manatee Viewing Center by Tampa Electric, there's a co-op there between the Florida Aquarium. They have an area on the southern end of the campus where they're doing some turtle rehab work. They're working on helping regrow coral in the area. Also, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission is there working on helping restock the fish population and so forth. That whole area, they're doing some really awesome things there. The area is really educational. It's super fun. They've got some great hiking trails in the area. It's totally free, which is like bingo, right? And they've also got this awesome observation tower there. Now, the observation tower, you can go out there through some really, really nice hiking trails. And when you get out there, that observation tower, unlike the one at Weedon Island that says it's 45 feet, but it's 40 feet, but it looks like it's about 25 feet. This one you get out there and this tower is 50 feet high and it looks like it's about 100 feet high. You get out there and you're like, I don't know if I'm really up for doing all them steps. As a matter of fact, when I went out there, the first time I ever went out there, there was people at the bottom that couldn't make it to the top of it or didn't feel like walking up to the top. And that's what inspired me to put this whole video together. But the view from the Florida Conservation and Technology Center's observation tower is beautiful out on the bay. You're looking back on the mangrove area. Now, the bad news is on the northern side there, you get that big coal-burning power plant from Tampa Electric. But the whole center wouldn't exist without that because that's what heats the waters for the manatee to begin with. So we got to cut them some slack on that. But the area as a whole, in addition to the tower, is what made this number 2. It's an amazing area. If you haven't checked it out, I would really recommend doing that. If you want to hear more about it on my podcast, it's called Exploring Tampa, Florida and Beyond, episode 24. I actually did a whole episode about this area and everything affiliated with it. And now that brings us to the number one observation tower in the Tampa Bay area. And I would have to give that award to the observation tower at Wall Springs Park in Palm Harbor. This observation tower is absolutely massive. And the majority of the reason it's so huge is because it is wheelchair accessible. It is the only one of these towers that is wheelchair accessible. Apparently that's a new rule. This tower burnt to the ground years back. Originally it was a 40-foot tower, but they rebuilt it back to 35 feet high. And regulations that had since come in place required them to build wheelchair ramps all the way up to it. Now, the bad news with that is those regulations, this was covered by insurance, and it was a big deal because of the fact that the new regulations are requiring wheelchair ramps. If that's the case, some of these other towers, like that one over at Weedon Island that is getting kind of rickety, when it comes time to tear that one down, it might not be rebuilt because of the space needed for these wheelchair ramps. In addition to that, the cost is going to be through the roof on them. When you first look at this tower at Wall Springs Park, it says it's 35 feet tall. And opposite the Weedon Island, when I looked at Weedon Island, I'm like, that doesn't look that tall. When I looked at this one, I'm like, that looks a lot taller than 35 feet tall. So I went out there and I measured it, and it's 35 feet tall. That's from the ground below to the bottom where you are stepping on when you're at the top. So when you're at the very top, your feet are standing 35 feet off the ground below. Now, it's also got a little roof area up top. So if you measure it to the top of the very top of the roof from the top, it's actually 50 feet because it's about 15 feet from the floor up to the very top of the roof. So that might lead to some of the kind of eye trickery, the illusion there. Also, the size of the tower, how big it is all around, might lead to some of that. But it is a really, really nice tower. And it is really nice to have a wheelchair accessible tower. So that is really good. And when you get to the top of this tower, the view of the bayou area there and out into the Gulf and of Wall Springs Park, the whole area is absolutely amazing. Wall Springs Park is a nice park to go to as well. It's got some history there. There's two sections of this park. The lookout tower is in the southern or main section. There's another northern section with a path that'll take you right down on the Gulf. But Wall Springs Park, the number one observation tower in the area. There's a couple of other ones I want to give honorable mention to, just so that people can see them all. The first one I want to give honorable mention to is the lookout tower at Chestnut Park. I absolutely love Chestnut Park. If you've listened to the podcast, if you've watched any of my other videos, you hear me raving about Chestnut Park in Palm Harbor all the time. Their lookout tower can be hard to find if you don't know where it's at. I went there like 7 times. I'm like, is there a lookout tower around here? And finally, somebody told me there's the boat ramp at Chestnut Park, and there's a pathway down the right-hand side of that boat ramp that goes out towards Lake Tarpon. And you take that all the way out, and then it makes a sharp right. When you get to the very end, when that pathway makes the sharp right, that's where the lookout tower is. And you get a beautiful view of Lake Tarpon from the top of that. The next one I want to give honorable mention to is one that I stumbled across by absolute accident, and it's one you're not going to find very easy. It's Key Vista Nature Park up in Holiday. If you park at Key Vista Nature Park, you're going to follow a path out to the Gulf, and then you're just going to kind of wander along the water south for a ways, and then you're just going to run into this tower out in the middle of the boonies out there. And you're like, wow, this is really cool. It's a really nice tower that takes you up and gives you a beautiful view of the Gulf there. Probably the easiest way if you were just trying to access the tower would be a little south of Key Vista Nature Park. They've got a park there called Anclote Gulf Park, Anclote Gulf Park. And right at Anclote Gulf Park, they've got a boardwalk path that walks north. If you take that, that's probably the easiest way to stumble upon the tower. Just kind of walk that north and then stay on the water side, and you will hit it. Otherwise, you're coming across south from Key Vista and just kind of wandering along the water till you find it. But it's a beautiful little area to hike around, and it's a beautiful tower when you come across it. The last one I want to cover and honorable mentions is the observation tower at Sawgrass Park in St. Petersburg. Sawgrass Park is a beautiful park, absolutely beautiful park. If I were judging between parks, I would say I like Chestnut Park better, but for what it has, Sawgrass Park is absolutely beautiful, and they've got a nice lake down there too. They've got many walkways and boardwalk paths around the area, and one of the boardwalk paths takes you up to it's basically a 2-story observation tower. The lake isn't as nice as Tarpon. The view's not as nice as the view from Chestnut Park, but it's still very nice. And the observation tower, when you get out there, it kind of gives you a destination worth going out while you're doing your hike out there, walking through the boardwalk paths. And when you get to the end, it definitely doesn't disappoint. So those are the top 5 observation towers in the Tampa Bay area, along with 3 alternates. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you feel like checking any of them out, you will not be disappointed. Have a good day.